When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing those stories to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. Today's guest, no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Corey Wayne to the show. How are you, sir?
Hey, Drewbie. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm crushing the day. I want to jump right in, man. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
My crazy sales story. All right. So my crazy sales story is going to come from one of my clients who I'm working with right now. They were brought to me through some clients that demanded to work with me. And this is crazy to me because I used to work for a big box brokerage, and they really wanted us to specialize in more niche neighborhoods and areas. These clients, they were looking in my jurisdiction, but in a town, a few towns over. And, I referred them out per company policies. They did a search with these people who were more localized, and they came back to me the next year and they said, Corey, we just want to work with you. And so there I am driving out to the Hamptons several times a month, showing these people properties out in the Hamptons because they don't want to work with anyone else. Mm-hmm. And this story to me is crazy just because it shows how much this job is based on relationships, right? I'd never worked with these people before in a sales capacity. We just had a regular relationship through friends of friends. And we, were, I would say, medium acquaintances prior to this happening. And now here we are. This is 2 years later. They bought the house in the Hamptons with me. They bought something in the city with me. And they've referred 2 people to me with, $5 million worth of budget. And to me, that is crazy.
I love the, hey man, I did what I was supposed to do, and I didn't take the client even though they wanted to work with me. And then it came back around and you just did the right thing. And I've always had this just really firm belief that when it comes to sales, if you take care of people and you provide a really, really good service, sales will take care of you. And so because I was looking through your profile, man. I know you're in like the high end. Hamptons is not cheap real estate. What made you decide to get into, luxury real estate, especially in the New York area? I've got a friend out that way, and so I know it is a tough market to be in. Why go that route?
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to the numbers, right? Like I could sell 5 homes a year, or I could sell 50 homes a year. But when you increase that price point, you work just as hard, but you can do less deals to make the same amount of money. So I'm not saying I'm not selling $5 million properties left and right. I'm definitely still in that, I'll call it a beginner's phase of the luxury market, where most of my clients are spending somewhere between 1.5 to 3 million. But still, it's been a long game for me. I've been doing this since 2013, and all of my relationships have been built from the ground up. I didn't move to the city knowing people. I didn't come from an Ivy League school. Like all of my relationships are very grassroots efforts, and it's starting to get to a point where it's really paid off, and I'm starting to reap the rewards.
The compounding effect of work over time is an amazing thing to experience, and a very difficult thing to explain to new sales professionals. It's like, listen, you're going to eat dirt and you're going to grind and it's going to suck, and you're going to drive hours and hours and hours to meet people who are going to be like, no, let's meet again next time. And you're going to be like, what is going on in my life? But if you just stick with it, it does start to come around. And so has real estate been something you've always been interested in, or was it something that you fell into?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually. And it's honestly been my career path that I've had in my mind since I was in middle school. my best friend's grandmother owned a real estate company in my hometown, Knoxville, Tennessee, smaller subset of that, Halls Crossroads. And I just always loved her. She was just the most charismatic, most joyful person that you could ever encounter. And every time we were out at lunch or every time we were out at the store, she would always know people. She was always so friendly. And she just had this like magnetic energy. And of course, you know, she always had a brand new car and she always lived in a nice house. And so all of those things, I was like, oh, this is the career, you know, this is what I want to do. And, you know, I went to school and studied journalism and kind of took a different route for that because there was no real estate option at the university I went to, but I always wanted to do real estate. So after I graduated and I moved to New York City, I got my license and I just started grinding.
I love that. And now I know you mentioned at a certain point earlier on, you had worked in one of the big box firms with like investments or something like that. Is that really where you kind of cut your teeth in sales, or like where did you start learning sales originally?
I originally started learning sales when I was 17 years old. Have you ever get those calls from, hey, we're the firefighters and we're raising money for kids? Yes. So my dad did that back when I was younger, and that was one of my first sales jobs. I was cold calling leads all day, raising money for the Fraternal Order of Police, you know, which helps underprivileged families with Christmas and school supplies and things of that nature. They have different programs throughout the year. So that's where I really started my sales experience.
It's a heck of a place to learn. Calling and asking for donations, right? It's not the first time I've met someone who had that as a first time job. So it's always interesting to meet people who have come from that, because you guys have a very unique perspective on the conversation, because the sales that you were making, it's not like you were reaching out and trying to sell something, a product. You're like, hey, can you give us some money to do good things for other people in the community?
Right.
And you may hate cops, but like, we're doing good stuff. So hook us up, man. Let's take care of people. And it's just always so fun to meet people who have been down that path. And so you start in that realm, you end up in the investment world. What were some of the things that you kind of had to work through early on? What were some of your initial like big roadblocks in sales that you had to figure out?
I mean, I think for me, it was coming from Tennessee to New York City. I really thought it was going to be, you know, glitz and glamour, right? Like this was before real estate showed us the glitz and glamour of it. It was just me seeing it through my friend's grandmother's eyes. And it was a rude awakening. You know, it was a lot of schlepping around. It's a very laborious job, especially in the early days. And, you know, not knowing what's going to happen and how much effort I'm going to put into this to get something out of it or to get nothing out of it. And really just learning to show up to each appointment with each client, you know, and not bring the baggage of whatever's going on for me to those experiences, right? Because at the end of the day, the experience that the client has with me is going to set the tone for the entire transaction or the entire deal. So if I'm showing up, you know, annoyed that I've shown you 20 apartments and you haven't even put in one offer, like you're going to feel that, right? And so I've just learned, similar to like those cold calls, right? Like people hang up and you get on each new call with a smile, with a fresh attitude, and, you know, you're delivering customer service. You know, that's for me is the root of my business.
So this brings up a great question, because the call to damn leads, it just speaks to real estate agents for whatever reason. You probably know why it does, because most agents ain't doing it. Yep. That said, one of the things that I've always found interesting working with agents especially is creating a boundary around how hard you're willing to work for some of those deals. Because in real estate, really, like you're kind of working for nothing until you get the deal done. So you're almost on like credit system trying to get to like this big close.
Yeah.
You just mentioned something that made me smile, because I've met a lot of people that do. It's like, hey man, we showed them 20 houses, we showed them 20 apartments, and like they still want to go see more. And so when you're early on in the journey, right, you're kind of doing whatever you got to do to get a deal closed. But at what point do you start creating a process or a boundary for yourself and being like, all right, cool, I'm going to show you 5. And then we're going to pick one of those 5. And that's it. And unless maybe that's not how it works there. But I'm curious how you've gone through and dealt with that experience as well.
Sure. So, I mean, there's all kinds of strategies, right? I've done tons of coaching programs. I've done the ninja. I've done stuff with individual coaches. I've done social media coaching, and they all have different kind of tips to help kind of get a client away from looking. And, you know, one of my favorite things to say to clients is, and it's true, is that if I'm doing my job correctly and we're doing an onboarding call and I spend an hour speaking with you about what you're looking for, and the first day we go out, you're 80% guaranteed to find something that you like. Don't be afraid to make a move on that apartment because it's the first place we saw. Because 95% of my clients are going to find something they like on the first day we go out. And so, you know, it's kind of like a soft sell. It's kind of like giving the client permission to make a decision. So, because a lot of this is managing their anxiety, managing their expectations. And, you know, like some clients, you know, if they want to look, like, honestly, this whole movement that we've had where buyers have to sign agreements to work with us has relieved a lot of that anxiety for me. Because I'm like, well, you know, if you want to keep looking, we can keep looking, but like we're partnered together, right? Like I feel like it's less of a waste of my time when we're in a partnership agreement. Whereas before it was much less like, oh, well, who knows what's going to happen after I show you 30 places. It's like, no, we've established a professional relationship now. And I think, you know, however you want to look at this new structure, I'm for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of opinions on that. We won't go down that rabbit hole because that's a whole other show in and of itself, you know. And so agents, either you like it or you don't like it, but at the end of the day, I agree in the terms of creating a professional relationship is the key. And that's just setting boundaries, setting expectations. And I really appreciated how you approach it from the idea of pre-framing in terms of, hey, you're trusting me to do this job and I'm going to do a great job of it, which means that we're going to find something pretty quick. The onus will be on you to make a decision so that you don't get caught up in the inertia of all the things that life has. Because ultimately, as you said, as sales professionals, especially in the real estate world, you're as much a therapist as you are a salesperson. Like, you are dealing with some of the craziest stuff in some of the most highly emotionally charged times in a person's life. And so you very quickly have to learn how to navigate that. And you know, Corey, you mentioned this early on. It's like you can be in the middle of your own personal stuff and you still got to be able to show up for your clients. And so has there ever been an experience where that, you know, you had something going on and maybe you reacted in not a great way and it caused some issues with a client?
I mean, I'm definitely sure that has happened a time or two in my career. I can't have specific examples not really coming to mind other than just like me constantly having to remind myself, right? Like, hey, I don't have to respond to a text in 2 seconds every time I get a text from a client, right? Because a lot of times when I do that, I'm not presenting my best self. So for me, I'm all about taking that pause, you know, because we get texts from clients all day long. You know, I get these clients I'm working with right now. You know, he's in like a 9 to 9 job. You know, he's on all day long at his job. So when he is texting me, it's after 9 o'clock at night when he's like trying to talk about real estate stuff. So, you know, I've kind of conditioned myself to roll with those types of fluctuations, right? Like he's not bothering me during the day. He's bothering me at 9 p.m. And so at 9 p.m., I know I need to be on, right? Because this client's going to be texting me. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely been a little snarky. Sometimes you got to be a little snarky with these clients, right? Like, and my personal stuff aside, it's like, I'm here to tell you the truth, like this deal I'm working on now, it's the management company wrote back in the questionnaire saying, oh, well, washer and dryer is not permitted in every apartment. And my clients, oh, well, I don't want to sign the contract if we can't have a washer and dryer. I said, the washer and dryer has been in the apartment since 2012. It's not going anywhere. Okay.
People will find the craziest stuff to like freak out about. And I know that because I'm one of those people too. Like I look at all the details and I'll be like, well, hold on a second now. That's not what this says though. And so it is very much getting used to navigating people and personalities. And I really appreciate what you said in terms of prompt response is appreciated, but it's not a requirement. And so taking that time to sit back and think before you reply, it makes a big difference.
Definitely.
I know when I was, we were working with our agent in Texas when we were selling our house, and the buyer's agent sent us the list of what they wanted repaired. And it was like they wanted a new roof, they wanted all the plumbing replaced, they wanted a new HVAC system, they wanted like everything new. And I looked at my agent and I was like, you can tell them a whole bunch of expletives and this, that, whatever. And she's like, I'm not going to say that. Hold on a second. I'm like, that's why I have an agent. Because if I had to, like, and it's because in that heat of the moment,
right,
the insanity of asking someone to go and spend $75,000 to replace all this stuff on a house that these people are going to buy was just like, what is wrong with you people? And buyers, prospects, leads, clients, they will say some crazy things in the heat of the moment, and being able to navigate and negotiate through those things becomes really important, because as a professional, and I'm sure you've had this experience, there are times where both sides of the conversation are correct. And so you have to learn how to negotiate with your client. You have to learn how to negotiate with the other members of the transaction. So what are some of the things, like the tactics that have worked really well for you in those scenarios where you've got two very highly charged individuals and you're trying to be the middleman and help everybody win?
Yeah, well, the highest charged situation I've had was when, and I don't do this often, but representing both the buyer and the seller in a transaction. And my original client was the seller, and we offered the place to the current renter to purchase it, and she ultimately wanted to purchase it. So I was in between someone who's currently living in the apartment as a renter and my seller who is ready to sell. And, at the end of the day, when you're in that position, you're more of a liaison, right? There's very little negotiating that I'm going to do for either party, because I'm more or less just the middleman trying to smooth out, like you said, trying to smooth out everyone's tempers. And it was so crazy because we had a deal. It was going forward. And then last minute, my seller is like, I want $20,000 more for the apartment. If she doesn't want it, forget it. We'll put it on the market and we'll sell to somebody else. And I'm like, oh my God. So, I'm telling her this information, and, I'm literally apologizing as I'm sharing this information. I'm like, I just want you to know, this is just where he's at. We do have, everything's supported with data, right? And how people perceive that is out of my control. But the data did show, apartments in this area are going for a lot more. On top of that, you're already living here. You're going to save yourself a ton of stress by staying here. Is that worth X amount to you? Yes or no, right? So I think it's also about, you got to reason with people, and there's always, especially in New York, there's always this like inherent value to things, right? Like maybe the seller didn't spend $100,000 on the renovation, but they went through the time, they went through the effort of getting the renovation done. They were probably displaced during the renovation. They probably had, to find the contractors, to find this, to deal with the board. It's like So maybe that renovation is worth $150,000 because you don't have to do any of that stuff. So maybe this apartment, you should pay more, and it's just finding those pieces to share with the clients to give them the whole picture, right? And zoom out. I'm always trying to get clients to just zoom out, like, of those little things.
Yeah, I love that perspective. I've always been a big fan of helping people understand where they're either buying time or money at a discount, right? And as you said, it's like, hey, if you're going to spend 6 months arguing with the board and doing all these things, like, go for it. Or we can just give them an extra 50 and be done and not have to worry about that. Like, what's more valuable to you, the 50 grand or 6 months of your life trying to get this done? Because either way, this will happen, but this is what we have to look at. So I really appreciate your perspective on that and sharing it, because it is something that so many people fail to recognize. They just get that roadblock and then go, up, the deal's screwed. Everybody knows going to, but you have to get creative and look at ways to help your client see the message through the mess. Yeah. And it sounds like you've become an expert at that over the years, man.
Trial and error.
Amen to that. Trial and error. And honestly, we could probably sit and nerd out on these kinds of conversations for many, many hours. I do want to respect your time, though. How do we find you, follow you, learn more about what you have going on, check out your content online, etc.?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, the website, Instagram, it's all there. Highline, the number 2, hamptons.com is the website. That's also the Instagram, or you can follow my personal Instagram, which is, a little bit of me on vacation and a little bit of real estate content. It's just at Corey Wayne. That's my name. I'm lucky to have it. And that's it.
Well, Corey, I appreciate you taking some time to hang out and share some wisdom with us today, my friend.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Drewbie.
Absolutely. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the show, if you got some value out of it, share it on social. Tag me, tag Corey. Let the world know. Maybe you know somebody who's in real estate and they suck. Send them this episode. You don't have to tell them they suck, but just like, hey, I heard this. I was thinking of you. I wanted to send it your way. That's what this is all about. Just sharing the message, helping people get better, get more dialed in. And maybe you've got a crazy sales story that you want to share on the show. I'd love to have you as a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us all your details. While you're there, grab a hat, keychain, wristband, something to support the show. We'll see you guys next time. Go call the damn leads.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.